You've seen his face. I know it because you've ridden an elevator. He hangs out there, but he does a lot more. He's come by and told us about it a couple of times. He's willing to come back by again, and we're grateful for him. Commissioner of Labor Luke Farley joins us this morning to talk about maybe an uncomfortable concept, but one that obviously needed to be addressed, the death discount. Commissioner Farley, as Commissioner of Labor, is that the most uncomfortable part of the job, is coming across something where death is involved in the labor side?
Absolutely. Elevators are the easy part. They're the fun part. They're the part that everybody knows. And elevator safety is incredibly important to me, but I'm responsible for something even more important than that. And that's the health and safety of every working man and woman in this state, and making sure the workers of this state go home safe at the end of their workday. And so, sadly, there are instances where workers lose their lives due to preventable workplace accidents. And that is absolutely the toughest part of the job. I read every single report of workplace injury in North Carolina that comes through. And so I see the full range of things. I read those reports. I feel like it's my duty to the workers of this state to understand the conditions that they're facing. And sometimes there are accidents that result in the death of a worker. And what we have done in the department is eliminate what people have come to call the death discount. So we issue penalties as OSHA for the state of North Carolina when there are deaths or injuries on a job site. And some of your listeners will be surprised to know that some of those penalties were getting discounted even in cases of deaths, depending on the size of the employer. And so when I learned about this and looked at a year of data in the agency and saw that the agency was giving this death discount, I said, this has got to end. The penalties that get issued for a workplace death should not depend on the size of the employer that the employee was working at when they died. It just made no sense to me. And so in order to improve accountability and to make sure that we are holding bad actors accountable when workers die, I have ended the death discount immediately.
Legislation, right, has the process of going through, right, how it's got to be read, right, it's reviewed, there's committees, et cetera, et cetera. What's it like from your side in the individual department, and you see something like this, like the death discount? What's the strategy for like taking this kind of thing on, right? Because you got to have some out of the box thinking, I would imagine, to be able to accomplish a task like this.
Well, the first thing you have to do is be committed to worker safety. And the first thing you have to do is to say, I'm looking for ways to make sure every worker in this state is safer and that they go home safe at the end of the workday and that their lives are valued and respected. And that's why we ended the death discount, is because discounting deaths just made absolutely no sense. You should not get a break on your penalties when somebody has died. Right out of the gate, we were giving discounts, and the agency had been doing this for years. In fact, it's the way the federal government had been handling things. But this is a new administration, obviously, at the Department of Labor under my leadership, and I decided that it was time for this to go. Now, you mentioned the legislative process. That is a great process. It is deliberative. There's a lot of debate. But I didn't have to do that. I did that. I ended the death discount as the chief executive of the North Carolina Department of Labor and was able to do it with the stroke of a pen. This was an internal policy of the agency, and I just ended that policy.
One of the other things you've emphasized since being in office that I can recall is the concept that the Department of Labor doesn't have to be just the enforcement side of after a situation has happened, right? You'd actually rather eliminate that or like not have to deal with that, and inviting companies to reach out to the Department of Labor to ensure compliance or ask the questions from the beginning. How's that been going thus far since you've been in office?
So it's going very well, and you're exactly right. That is the approach we take at the North Carolina Department of Labor. We are a regulatory agency. We've got a bunch of rules and statutes that we enforce. But I always say that for every rule or regulation we expect a business to follow, we have a resource to help them meet that compliance burden. And we do hope that they'll call. So they can call us at 1-800-NC-LABOR, 1-800-NC-LABOR, and ask any question on their mind, and we will connect them to the right resource because we understand most people are trying to do the right thing. If they don't do the right thing, it's usually because they just don't know better or they don't know how the rule applies. And so we would much rather work with you on the front end than have to deal with citations and penalties on the back end. And so if there are any business owners listening, especially small businesses, I want you to know as commissioner, I want y'all to be successful. I want you to succeed. I want you to create jobs for North Carolina, and I want to be able to help you meet your obligations when it comes to how you treat your employees. So give us a call at the North Carolina Department of Labor.
What we would hope would be the standard for every business, but may in some instances seem like a benefit is workplace safety and the measures that companies and organizations go to protect their workers is certainly important given the growth we're having in industrial, logistical, transportation, all those types of things that take actual physical workforce. The annual safety awards banquet, you're on the road. I know you go throughout the state, but you're making your way toward the Charlotte area. How's the awards safety banquets going? And in general, that concept of awarding companies that are doing the right thing?
Well, you're right. We are on the road at this moment, headed to Charlotte for the Charlotte Safety Banquet. Listen, giving people positive recognition when they do the right thing in the end is more effective than just issuing citations and penalties. Anybody who's ever run any kind of an organization knows that if all you're trying to do is to scare people to get to do the right thing, that's only going to work as long as people are scared. But if you can give them positive recognition and inspire excellence and help raise the bar with positive recognition, you're going to get a lot farther. And that's what we do with our safety awards. We travel around the state recognizing businesses who have achieved safety excellence. And we want to give them that positive recognition. And we're doing that in Charlotte today. This is the 80th anniversary of our safety awards. So our safety awards even predate our OSHA inspections. OSHA is only about 50 years old. Safety awards are 80 years old. And we're in Charlotte today to recognize a variety of businesses. And one of the great things, and kudos to people in Charlotte, the awards program is growing. We're up 88% this year in participation. So we went from 120 people being honored to 226. That is fantastic. That tells me that Charlotte is getting behind the idea of worker safety. So kudos to Charlotte for doing a fantastic job growing its safety program.
Charlotte being one of the 20 different stops, you cover the entire state. What a vast and wide makeup. What's it like seeing like the whole picture of North Carolina and the current labor and safety standards that are going on across the state?
Well, I already love North Carolina, but I love it even more now that I get to spend so much time seeing every corner of this state. North Carolina is a place of endless opportunity if you're willing to work hard. And you see that when you're on the road. You see the goodness of our people. It is fantastic being on the road all the time. And you need to, right? Like, you cannot be an effective leader for the whole state if you're just stuck in the Raleigh bubble. If you're just stuck in the Raleigh bubble sitting behind your desk and you don't get out and meet the citizens, meet the workers that we serve, meet the businesses we interact with, and do it in every corner of this state, you're just not going to be an effective leader for the state of North Carolina.
One of the things that's going on in Raleigh, Representative Carl Gillespie, Neil Jackson, Ben Moss, and Carson Smith filed House Bill 1214, Make E-Verify Great Again. Can you share with us the concept of E-Verify, and also why is it relevant right now, do you think, for North Carolinians?
Sure. So E-Verify is already the law in North Carolina, and anyone involved in a business probably already knows that. E-Verify is the federal electronic database that you must run employee names through to make sure that those employees are in this country legally and eligible to work in this country. The North Carolina Department of Labor enforces North Carolina's E-Verify law. And Representative Gillespie and the other representatives who have sponsored this bill are making the most significant and positive reforms to our E-Verify law that we've had since the law came into being over a decade ago. The idea here is that the law needs to be stronger to protect North Carolina jobs. One of the great things we're doing in North Carolina right now is creating jobs. Last year was a record year for job creation in North Carolina, and that is a wonderful thing. But from my perspective as labor commissioner, we need to make sure that all these jobs we're creating are going to actual hardworking North Carolinians and not people who are in this country illegally. And so strengthening the E-Verify law will make sure that the great job creation we're doing in North Carolina goes to the people who deserve to have those jobs, which are the hardworking North Carolinians. The other thing I'll mention, and this is something I did not appreciate until I became labor commissioner, and it's something I've heard many times in the year and a half that I've been in office. So when you think about illegal immigrants and their role in the job market and taking jobs from North Carolinians, that's mostly what you think of is they have taken a job from somebody else. One of the things I've heard so many times from especially small businesses is that if they are doing things the right way, if they are e-verifying their employees, making sure that they have got a legal workforce in North Carolina, they are oftentimes undercut by competitors who are not doing it the right way. So, for instance, a couple of months back, I was talking to a guy who owns sort of a mid-sized plumbing company, and he said, Commissioner, I'm a good patriotic American. I want to follow the law. I want to give jobs to North Carolinians in this state. I do e-verify, but my competitors don't. And I lose out on jobs because they can underbid me, because they can undercut me on price, because they are paying for illegal labor, and that's cheaper. And so when we talk about strengthening E-Verify, we're not just talking about doing it to protect North Carolina jobs. We're doing it to protect also the businesses in this state who are honest and doing things the right way already and losing opportunities because they're being undercut. So it protects both our workers and our businesses who are trying to do things the right way.
One of those concepts being able to report violations in good faith. That seems like, we can call that whistleblower, whatever you call the concept, but that idea of being able to, well, wait a second, if they're not enforcers, well, why can't I tell somebody about that? Have you seen a need to allow people to come forward? Does that seem like a big part of it too?
So the system we have right now is what we call a complaint-based system. The laws that exist does not give the Department of Labor any independent authority to check compliance with the law. All we operate on is complaints from citizens. And it's hard to get citizens to make these complaints, especially because the kinds of people who will have information about whether the law has been violated are typically insiders to the employer who's not following the rules. And so those people have to feel comfortable coming forward and saying, I am aware that there's a violation here. But the other important thing that we need to do is make sure that the Department of Labor actually can make sure people are complying with the law. We need to be proactive and not passive when it comes to enforcing E-Verify. And right now we've got a passive system, but we can make it an active system that protects workers and their jobs and the businesses who are doing things the right way.
We're talking with Commissioner of Labor Luke Farley. Before we let you go, summertime's upon us, Commish. What do you think? People are traveling, going about. Any advice for those if they're traveling during the summer or the businesses during the summertime, just overall from your perspective as Commissioner of Labor?
Well, I hope our workers get a good opportunity for a vacation this summer. That's the most important thing as I think about our workers, to make sure that they have an opportunity to sort of enjoy the fruits of their labor and enjoy some R&R. But the other thing to keep in mind is temperatures. If you're working outside, be mindful of the heat. Make sure that you're taking breaks as needed, getting in the shade as needed, water as needed to stay safe in the heat.
Luke Farley, Commissioner of Labor for the state of North Carolina. Safe travels, sir. Enjoy those safety award banquets. So grateful to hear of the businesses wanting to participate and keep the workforce safe. And thank you for all your efforts.
Justin, great chatting with you. Talk to you soon.
Take care, sir.
See you.